Good evening, my name is Jeffrey Lashley. This is October 6, 2024. This is assignment week 3 of FTH 212. I'm going to show you a cleared pistol. I'm going to check it physically and visually. There's nothing in the chamber and there's no rounds in the area. I'm going to field strip it. And show you the parts, discuss their operation and things that we'll be looking out for. So I have the slide, I have the barrel, lower receiver, and the spring and guide. So areas of concern on the slide is we want to check the rail surfaces. We want to check the breech face, make sure that it is smooth and the cuts are clear and nothing is worn. Sorry, nothing worn there. We want to check the rail cuts and make sure that looking for excessive wear in all of these rail cuts all the way down. We want to check the slide lock notch. So check here for wear, the breech face. Going to check the firing pin area coming through. The extractor. Check the extractor to make sure that it is operational and no excessive wear. The front locking area, make sure that it is crisp and clean. The striker safety, make sure that it moves up and down, and then that the striker can move, and then whenever I move it back you hear it click. That means it's working. And then the striker hole, like I said, I called it a firing pin hole, but it's a striker hole. Make sure that's clear. And we check our sights and our optics. So from there, then we would move on to checking the frame assembly. We would check rails, check down, take the takedown lever, make sure it's operational. The locking block, trigger bar, the sear, connector, disconnector, pinholes, slide stop, and the magazine catch. We would be looking at all of those, making sure that there's no excess wear, no breakage, and that they are operational when together and can move. What are we looking for on the rails? Looking for excessive wear. Takedown lever, verify that it's operational, operates smoothly. Locking block, verify that the locking block's surfaces are smooth. And a rough surface may impede locking and may prematurely lead to loose fitting components like the barrel. Trigger and trigger bar, ensure that the trigger rotates around the trigger pin smoothly and that the bar does not bind, so everything is moving properly. Whenever it's moved forward, pulling it does move around the bar. Next, check the pinholes, and then slide stop and magazine catch. All are operational. Next, check the barrel. Looking at the crown and muzzle area. The bore, we're checking rifling. And chamber, feed ramp, top locking. So check the feed ramp to make sure this is not worn. And make sure that all of these areas are intact. Make sure that the areas cut here are intact and not worn. the bottom locking lug and the barrel tube straightness. Make sure that it is in fact straight. That pretty much covers the areas that we wanted to immediately look at and go over for those. For the recoil spring assembly, we wanted to look at the guide rod and make sure that it's smooth and free of deformations. Guide rods can be found in plastic, steel, and tungsten. The rear mating surface, make sure that that it mates with the barrel lug, should be free of deformations, and the recoil spring, make sure that it has enough strength to feed the cartridge and lock the slide. So going over some of the function here, whenever the trigger is pulled, this portion right here moves off of the striker safety, which then allows the trigger bar to move let the striker to then slam forward and fire the actual cartridge. Once the cartridge fires, this is a blowback system, so you have rails here and rails here that hold on the slide. So I'm not going to put it all the way on because this is not put back together, but whenever it does come back, it will then recock and allow everything else to go back in place, and then therefore the trigger mechanisms, the connector and everything moves back into place, and the barrel, which has locking lugs, whenever it does move, it cants up and allows the next round to feed up through the magazine, and then it tilts and then moves the next round in. Whenever the slide comes back forward, the slide will catch the round on the back and bring it forward and take it into the actual chamber, and the extractor will connect to it, and it will lock in position, and it'll go through the cycling of operations. Some of the other things that part of the operation is the slide release, slide lock, and then down is the release. You have the ejector, the trigger mechanism housing, and the trigger spring, which you cannot see, but the trigger spring is underneath here, and the magazine release here. Some of the things that I think I will need to learn more on is the troubleshooting feeding or failed to fire. Failed to fire is probably going to be one of the biggest problems that I may encounter due to the internal mechanisms that must flow properly to engage the striker. So the striker then must engage the primer. Everything else is fairly simple on this pistol. Magazine fed, so feeding and then chambering. As long as the slide and everything is working properly, the magazine can be replaced easily to test to see if there's a problem with feeding. Extracting could be a problem if the extractor is broken, or if there's issues with the bolt face. That could be a troubleshooting spot that could be difficult to diagnose the problem. Other than that, the pistol is straightforward. Alright, next I will do the go, no-go gauge. First, with the go gauge, I will put it in, lock it in the extractor, and then show that there is 0 gap. Next was the no-go, put that in, do the same thing, lock it in the extractor, and it is showing a gap, it's failing it. So that's an easy one to show the difference. And the length is measuring from the rifling to the breech. It's the same as most of the 9mm by 19 breeches, so most are going to be in those same distances. That covers this week. Look forward to next week.